ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Motown Records, Mr. Berry Gordy Jr.
In the room with Berry Gordy, but everybody knew that Berry Gordy hits both sides of the fence, they always say. Berry Gordy was the guy who had the Jackson 5, who eventually conned Michael Jackson because Joe Jackson was a Jehovah's Witness, and they say, Michael, you come hang with us, you can get toys. They might got Michael some more than toys. And you know exactly where I'm going with this. Next thing you know,
he took me to a Playboy Mansion the first day in LA. I was like, what the hell?
Back in the day when Motown ruled the music scene, there was one man who struck fear into the hearts of every artist, Berry Gordy. You see, Berry wasn't just a record producer, he was the boss, the big cheese, the man with the plan. He founded Motown Records in Detroit, where he turned ordinary singers into superstars like Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder. But here's the twist. Working with Berry Gordy wasn't all glitter and gold records. Oh no, artists whispered about his tough ways. He was like a strict teacher crossed with a hard-nosed boss. He demanded perfection and control. Imagine your boss telling you how to dress, how to sing, and even who to hang out with. That was Berry Gordy. He controlled everything from the songs they sang to the dances they did on stage. And if you stepped out of line, well, you'd better watch out. Some say he was like a puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes. Sure, he made Motown a hit factory, churning out hit after hit, but at what cost? Artists had to smile for the cameras while secretly feeling the pressure. They feared Berry's temper and his power to make or break their careers. But there's a part of Berry Gordy's story that not many people know about. Some people say he had connections with the... Let's dive into this interesting myth.
Soul, as it's called, is something that you feel from within and you do it spontaneously, and it is not something that you learn to do, and it is not something that you read and you do it well. You have to have a natural feeling for it.
Berry Gordy was born on November 28, 1929, in Detroit, Michigan. Gordy dropped out of Northeastern High School in the 11th grade to become a professional boxer in hopes of becoming rich quickly. He boxed professionally until 1950, when he was drafted by the United States Army in 1951 for service in the Korean War. Arriving in Korea in May 1952, Gordy was first assigned to the 58th Field Artillery Battalion, 3rd Infantry Division, near Panmunjom. He later became a chaplain's assistant, driving a jeep and playing the organ at religious services at the front. His tour in the Korean War was completed in April 1953. He obtained a GED, which is equivalent to a high school diploma.
Joe Louis knocked out Max Schmeling. That was a superpower contest between America, the land of the free, and Nazi Germany. And America had won. And Joe Louis was black like me. And the whole neighborhood went crazy. My mother and father, I saw my mother and father crying.
After his return from Korea in 1953, he married 19-year-old Thelma Louise Coleman in Toledo, Ohio. Gordy developed his interest in music by writing songs and opening the 3D Record Mart, a record store featuring jazz music and 3D glasses. The store was unsuccessful, and Gordy sought work at the Lincoln Mercury plant. But his family connections put him in touch with Al Green, owner of the Flame Show Bar Talent Club, where he met the singer Jackie Wilson.
Well, she's so fine, 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 she's so fine.
In 1957, Wilson recorded Reet Petite, a song Gordy had co-written with his sister Gwen and writer-producer Billy Davis. It became a modest hit, but had more success internationally, especially in the UK, where it reached the top 10 and even later topped the chart on reissue in 1986. Wilson recorded 6 more songs co-written by Gordy over the next 2 years, including Lonely Teardrops, which topped the R&B charts and got to number 7 in the pop chart. The Gordy siblings and Davis also wrote All I Could Do Was Cry for Etta James at Chess Records. Berry was a small-time amateur boxer, as earlier mentioned, but he realized that if he stayed in that game, he would always be dancing to someone else's tune. He knew that most boxers were owned by members, instructed to throw matches to ensure a payday. He made up his mind on the spot. He would work for no man. He would be his own boss. But he also knew that songwriters and musicians didn't actually make much money. The record label pulled in the real profits, so he borrowed $800 from his family to start his own. just enough for one pressing of one record to prove his pen, his ear, and his theories about the music industry, a source says. Motown, as Berry Gordy saw it, wasn't black music and it wasn't white music. It was just music, made by blacks, sure, but made for all of America. It sounds idealistic, but it was good business too. By serving both markets, he could expand his business more than twice over. It was an audacious strategy, and it only worked because of the vision, drive, discipline, and talent of Berry Gordy.
I thought I was going to be a really big star, so I quit my job in the factory, and my wife quit me.
And boy, did it work. Berry's recording studio, Hitsville, USA, churned out chart toppers as if from an assembly line. In that first year alone, the label released 15 singles. 2 years later, in 1961, they released 51. In 1963, they released 77. And this was not volume for the sake of volume. These were radio-dominating hits, eventual classics, from Smokey and the Miracles, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, Little Stevie Wonder, the Four Tops, and the Temptations. The sound of young America was born, achieved during a time of intense racial division in this country, and on a hunch that America, despite its divisions at the time, was ready for a different vision of itself. It was an empire. But unbeknownst to Berry, he was under surveillance by the FBI. This guy was dirty, had to be. How else could you explain his success? People on the street started talking. They said that Berry Gordy might have had help from some dangerous people. The is a secretive criminal organization known for illegal activities, including extortion, and even having connections with could mean trouble. Gordy has always denied having any connections. He says that his success came from hard work, great music, and smart business decisions. Many people believe him. After all, Gordy is a brilliant businessman and a musical genius. He had a vision for Motown, and he made it happen. Gordy's defenders say that the rumors are just that, rumors. They argue that people are jealous of his success and want to tear him down. It's not uncommon for successful people to face such accusations. In many cases, these accusations are baseless and come from a place of envy. To understand why these rumors exist, it's important to look at the relationship between and the music industry during the 1960s. The was involved in many businesses, including nightclubs, and yes, even music. They saw the music industry as a way to make a lot of money, and they weren't afraid to use illegal methods to get what they wanted.
So who do they call? They call Morris Levy. They say, Morris, we got this problem. These record companies, they're selling counterfeit records. Our artists are not getting the royalties, and we're getting beat out of revenue. Can you help? Morris would say, of course, I can help you. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars. He would charge them hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a stop to those counterfeit records into those stores. And who did he put a stop on? Himself, because he was the one that was doing it. So he would stop them, and he would actually then start doing again with another label in another company.
There are many stories about controlling nightclubs and concert venues. They would demand a cut of the profits and sometimes even threaten violence if they didn't get it. Some artists were forced to work with controlled promoters or else face serious consequences. Given this context, it's not surprising that people would think the might be involved with Motown. And one name that came up then was Eddie Jackson, who was the head of the criminal organization at that time. He made an unbelievable amount of money, grossing around $2 million a month, which would be more than $10 million in today's money. By the time his reached the street, people like Rudolph and others had tripled.
Eddie like, you don't know no John Claxton. Box reiterates, big man, I'm telling you, I wasn't always effed up like this.
Right.
I ran with some big dog. Box's proposition is simple. For a $10 blow, he gonna give him $1 million connection. Eddie blows up like gasoline in a fireplace.
Eddie Jackson quickly became the biggest dealer in Detroit. He and his team could sell 10 kilos of at once and not see their buyers for 2 weeks. When they did meet again, it was only to collect the money and give them more. This process kept Eddie insulated from the dangers of the streets.
Before Eddie got hooked up with Carlos Lambandozzi, aka Doc Gambino and the Gambino, he was already a very wealthy man.
Yes.
He got wealthy off the Claxton run.
It was said that about 80% of Motown music at that time was made under the influence of Eddie Jackson's. Whenever entertainers came to Detroit, Eddie and his team supplied them with. Famous names like Richard Pryor, the OJs, the Dramatics, and Eddie Kendricks all got their from Eddie. They got it for free because Eddie and his team bought 2 or 3 keys of at a time for personal use. But why would people think Gordy had ties to One reason is that running a successful business, especially a record company, in the 1960s wasn't easy. There were lots of competitors and sometimes business deals were shady. The music industry, in particular, had a reputation for being linked to organized crime. Eddie Jackson hung out with other stylish and important men who were part of Berry Gordy's Motown empire. Songwriters like Holland Dozier Holland, who wrote many hit songs, were part of this cool, stylish image. Several of these things happened that made people suspicious. For example, there were stories about him visiting Motown's offices. Some people also noticed that Motown seemed to avoid certain problems that other record companies faced. It was almost as if they had protection. Now, word on the street was that Gordy used to keep his artists and employees in line. If someone thought about leaving Motown, Gordy would make sure they changed their mind. He wasn't afraid to use intimidation to get what he wanted. Gordy was very strict about his artists' behavior. He controlled their public image, the way they dressed, and even their personal lives. He wanted to make sure that nothing hurt Motown's reputation. Gordy kept tight control over the money. Many artists complained that they didn't get paid what they deserved. They said Gordy kept most of the money for himself and paid them very little.
Somebody tells a lie about you or misinformation, it offends you. But the thing that really bothered me the most was the artist.
They didn't get their earnings.
Yeah, that was the thing that bothered me the most.
One of the most shocking rumors is that Gordy put a hit on a rival record label CEO. The story goes that this rival tried to steal some of Motown's biggest stars. Gordy, not willing to lose his top artists, allegedly used the mob to handle the situation. This story has never been proven, but it shows just how far people think Gordy would go to protect his empire. Recently, a film came out that shows Berry Gordy in a bad light. The film is called The Contender, and it is fictional, which means it's made up. But in the movie, Berry was shown as a thug who orders a hit on a rival executive. This means the movie says he tried to have someone K.Ed. Gordy says this never happened and is very angry about it. He says this movie was damaging his reputation.
But they don't know how it was done. You know, they think maybe it was done by devious means or something, and I want them to know that this was done with love, with care.
Because of this movie, Berry decided to take legal action. He filed a lawsuit for $10 million against the filmmakers. He wants them to pay for the harm they have done to his good name. He says the movie is full of lies and makes him look like a The people who made the movie say it's all made up. They say it's just a story and not real life. They do not believe they did anything wrong. They think people will understand that the movie is fiction, but Gordy does not agree. He believes people might think the movie is telling the truth about him.
Because the irony of that was that I went into business because as a creative person, I didn't feel I was getting paid.
This lawsuit was a big deal because Berry Gordy is an important figure in music. He created a lot of music that people still love today. He worked hard to build his career and reputation. Having a movie suggest he did something terrible like ordering a hit can be very harmful to how people see him. Gordy's fans were watching closely to see what happens. Many believe that Gordy has done great things for music and deserves respect. They support him in his fight to clear his name. Berry Gordy hopes that by taking this legal action, he will stop the spread of false stories about him. He wants to protect his legacy and ensure that people remember him for his true achievements, not for lies. This lawsuit was his way of standing up for what he believes is right. Fast forward to the bustling world of today, where everyone's got a voice on social media, it's hard not to wonder, is the game the same as it used to be? Back in the day, moguls like Diddy could shape careers and make stars. But can that still happen now? Has social media changed the whole game, leaving young talent out in the cold?
This is a day in the life of a brand.
When I'm promoting, I'm Mayweather, baby. I'm the prize fighter.
With the spotlights on artists like Puffy, aka P. Diddy, he's been in the game, seen it all. But there's talk about sacrifices, about what it takes to make it big. It's a harsh reality check, a reminder that the industry isn't just about beats and rhymes. It's about power, about who controls the narrative. Puffy's been called out, accused of playing a part in a cycle that's hard to break, and maybe he's not alone. Maybe it goes deeper, reaches higher. But who's talking about that? Who's calling out the real players behind the scenes? The Berry Gordys and Quincy Joneses of today.
Is that even possible today? Meaning, did social media fully eliminate that business model where the next generation of young talent are now protected?
No, nobody's protected yet.
It's a different game now. Back in the day, you could roll through the projects, pick up a kid with a dream, and make him a star. But now, it's all locked down, boxed in. The gatekeepers decide who gets a shot, and it ain't always the young bloods with fire in their veins. Sometimes it's the safe bet, the 50-year-old still hanging on. Despite the scary stories, there's no denying that Berry built one of the most successful record labels in history. Motown's music changed the world. Songs like My Girl, Stop in the Name of Love, and I Heard It Through the Grapevine are still loved today. Gordy had a great ear for talent and knew how to make hits. Gordy relocated to Los Angeles, where he produced the commercially successful biographical drama film on Billie Holiday, Lady Sings the Blues, starring Diana Ross, who was nominated for an Academy Award, Richard Pryor, and Billy D. Williams, cast in a role originally for Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops. Initially, the studio, over Gordy's objections, rejected Williams after several screen tests. However, Gordy, known for his tenacity, eventually prevailed, and the film established Williams as a major movie star. Berry soon after produced and directed Mahogany. Tony Richardson was the original director, but Gordy fired Richardson and took over direction himself after a dispute over casting, also starring Ross and Williams. In 1985, he produced the cult martial arts film The Last Dragon, which starred martial artist Timac and one of Prince's protégés, Vanity. Although Motown continued to produce major hits throughout the 1970s and 1980s by artists including the Jacksons, Rick James, Commodores, Lionel Richie, and long-term signings Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson, the record company was no longer the major force it had been. Gordy sold his interests in Motown Records to MCA and Boston Ventures on June 28, 1988, for $61 million. That is equivalent to $135,610,000 in recent times. He later sold most of his interests in Jobet Publishing to EMI Publishing. Gordy wrote or co-wrote 240 of the approximately 15,000 songs in Motown's Jobet music catalog. However, the true test of the label's worth would come a few years later when Polygram paid over $330 million for the Motown catalog. Gordy was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. In 1993, he received the CBC Lifetime Achievement Award. He was inducted into the Junior Achievement U.S. Business Hall of Fame in 1998 and the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame in 2009. When Gordy received the Songwriters Hall of Fame's Pioneer Award on June 13, 2013, he was the first living individual to receive the honor. He also received the key to the city from Mike Duggan on October 22, 2014.
But my life has been an embarrassment of riches. Every day for 30 years, I've had the luxury of doing what I love to do and getting paid for it.
In 2016, Gordy received the National Medal of Arts from President Obama for helping to create a trailblazing new sound in American music. As a record producer and songwriter, he helped build Motown, launching the music careers of countless legendary artists. His unique sound helped shape our nation's story. Berry Gordy Square in Los Angeles was designated by the City Council at the intersection of Sunset Boulevard and Argyle, where the office of Motown was located. He was awarded the Kennedy Center Honors alongside Bette Midler, Joni Mitchell, Justino Diaz, and Lorne Michaels. In 2022, he was inducted into the Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame and was also awarded with an honorary doctorate from the University of Michigan. Now, when it comes to his personal life, Berry Gordy has been married 3 times. His first marriage was to Thelma Coleman in 1953. They had 3 children together, but their marriage ended in divorce in 1959. After that, he married Raynoma Mayberry Lyles in 1960. They had 1 child together but divorced in 1964. Later, in the 1990s, Berry married Grace Eaton, but they also divorced in 1993.
I thought I was going to be a really big star, so I quit my job in the factory, and my wife quit me.
Gordy has a total of 8 children from different relationships. His daughter, Rhonda Ross Kendrick, is also a singer and actress. Her mother is Diana Ross, the famous singer from the Supremes. Barry and Diana never married, but their relationship was very important to both of them. Barry's personal life was not always easy. He faced many challenges. Running a big record company like Motown was hard work. He had to deal with many problems, like managing artists, making money, and keeping the business going. Sometimes he had to make tough decisions that affected his friendships and family relationships.
At all.
Oh, Stevie Wonder's mom was tough.
See, Lula, yeah, she was really tough. I mean, she wanted everything, and I didn't even like his singing.
Barry also had to fight against racism. As a black man running a successful business in the 1960s and 1970s, he faced discrimination. People did not always believe in his abilities, but he worked hard and proved them wrong. Money problems were also a part of his life. Even though Motown made a lot of money, there were times when Barry struggled financially. He had to sell Motown in 1988 to keep things going. Berry Gordy's life shows that success comes with many challenges. He had to work very hard, make tough choices, and face many obstacles. But his passion for music and his determination helped him overcome these challenges and leave a lasting impact on the music world.
6 companies now that control the distribution of about 90% of the music. Right. And these corporate giants really control the business. You would not be very smart to stay in and try to fight this uphill battle. And in my case, because of the rumors, misinformation, and all that, even some of the artists believed it.
So, the next time you hear a classic Motown song, think about the man behind the music. Remember Berry Gordy, the visionary who changed the face of music despite all the rumors and challenges. His story is a testament to what one person can achieve with passion, determination, and a little bit of soul. Berry Gordy's story is one of talent, hard work, and success. He built Motown Records from the ground up and created a musical empire. While there are rumors about his connections to the mafia, there is no solid evidence to support these claims. Gordy himself has always denied them. Despite all the rumors and whisperings, there has never been any solid proof that Berry Gordy had ties to the No court has ever found him guilty of any crimes related to organized crime. The stories remain just that, stories. And that's all for today. Until next time, bye.